Good morning, class. I'm Tobias, and I'm going to be doing a presentation on NPR. Now, imagine a world where all of the news that the American people get is corporatized and pushed through very profit driven corporations, or instead, probably even worse, through political governments and political parties, only trying to push news that caters to their constituents and tears down their opponents. Both very biased and untrustworthy. Now, that very dystopian thought that seems like it comes from, a Hunger Games book, sadly, is growing a lot of traction in the current year with the current US administration, specifically Donald Trump, looking to push legislation against public news programs like PBS and NPR to give his supporters the idea that he's actually fighting against fake news, despite the fact that NPR is one of the least fake news networks around. Now, NPR is a very vital resource for trustworthy and unbiased journalism, and that alone, I think, deserves the continued support of both the American government and the American people. As someone who uses NPR probably every day besides Sunday, I would say that it has very positively impacted how well informed I am on any situation. And they've also had an impact on millions of other Americans who are more informed because of their reporting. NPR fills a very critical gap by bringing unbiased, accessible journalism in a time of media politicalization and polarization. Because NPR is actively working to educate, inform, and empower the public through their high quality reporting, that's sadly something that a lot of political elites don't want to have easily accessible to the American people because it frightens them. Now, because if we don't support NPR, we very much risk losing one of the last bastions of public interest through journalism. And that's essential that we don't lose that. Now, let's turn gears and shift towards the very much growing problem of misinformation, both in mainstream media and the internet, that a lot of Americans are being exposed to. Now, according to Reuters Institute Digital News Report of 2023, NPR is ranked as one of the most trusted and accurate news sources in the United States, with a trust rating of over 60%. For example, Fox News, I believe, got 40%. So they're doing very well. And that's something to keep in mind as, again, Americans are bombarded with such heavy-handed misinformation that they don't even have the proper understanding to build a foundation for their opinion on any matter because it's already been corrupted by, I would say, bad actors. Now, unlike many commercial outlets, NPR does not rely heavily on very sensationalized journalism. They instead employ an internal ethics handbook that is very publicly accessible on their robust reporting. Now, NPR also offers a wide range of reporting that reaches a large portion of the American people. 40 million people tune in every week through either radio or a digital platform to hear NPR. This comes from the NPR Public Editor Annual Report of 2023. NPR is again also committed to transparency both through their annual reports and internal documents that are publicly accessible through their website. Now, I hope that you, as an audience, see the value of NPR. Let's talk if they continue to be unsupportive. Now, failing to support NPR, either through public funding or civic engagement would mean losing a very trusted voice in American journalism and potentially even allowing misinformation and only government approved news to filter through us, the American people. And that's clearly bad. According to a 2022 Pew Research Center study, nearly 70% of Americans believe that misinformation is a major problem, and it is. Cutting NPR's funding would silence one of the few leading contributors to fighting misinformation. Government support also makes up a small portion of NPR's funding, but that's still a portion. Even though government funding only accounts for, I think, 15% of NPR's funding, that 15% goes to a lot of very remote radio stations that use it to stay afloat. And if we can't reach the entirety of the American people through NPR and through unbiased journalism, then more people are going to be susceptible to misinformation and maybe even being radicalized. Now, some things we can do is to both to help this issue is to understand it and be informed. Now, NPR plays a crucial role in delivering the fair and factual reporting. And that's something that we, as a people, should readily support. Now, we can do this through calling our local and federal representative and ask them to support public interest in PBS and NPR. We can also do this through using them as our daily source of news. Now, I would recommend that everybody does that and fight to continue to have NPR and PBS stay afloat and stay trustworthy. Now, I hope I've convinced you, and if I haven't convinced you, I hope I've at least informed you about a growing issue. And I hope everybody has a good day and enjoys their weekend.